So what was it for you to inspire you to go to college?
To show off. The more education you have, the more power you have.
So what does education mean to you personally?
Wow, it is liberating. I think it's important that we don't just focus and celebrate formal education, because it's people out here in these streets that are learning things, and they have so much to offer, and they may not have the letters behind their name. So education for me is just
That's a good
being,
point.
thank you, being enlightened. It is learning, it is growing, it is never ending, lifelong, from how to cook to molecular biology. It's all encompassing, it's ever evolving, it's a lot, it's life.
Knowledge is power, but you get knowledge from education.
So it's been my experience that in a lot of programs that exist to, usually to get more Black students involved in higher education, science tends to be completely left out of that. And in that sense, I mean, not even mentioned, or engineering, science or engineering. Usually it's very focused on, a lot of times, sports, and if not sports, then probably business. There's a lot of focus on business and sports, and those are two really great and important things, but I think it's important to have more diversity in every field. And so one thing that I wish I'd see in a lot more of these programs is more exposure to, people who actually work in the sciences, who work in engineering, or who, in other things, psychology, art, especially because there's such a lack of diversity in those areas. And a lot of people, if they're never exposed to those ideas, that can be an important factor as to why people decide not to go into those fields. And I think that it also causes there to be a certain lack of knowledge in those communities around those topics. For example, it's good to have a family member who you can call who's maybe a lawyer, or a family member who's a doctor. Just people who can talk to you about certain things or explain certain things about you to you, give you guidance in life. It kind of can empower an entire community to have lawyers, doctors, and a diversity of different professions. And scientists are one of those. I think that's valuable.
Education is lifelong. You're always learning, and you're trying to become the best you.
On my own, I like to read about all sorts of things and learn about all sorts of things. So I've always been really interested in engineering and politics and business and economics and math and physics.
Education is for everyone, all the time.
I learned a lot about how to balance things, and that, there are things that are very important. There are more things that are important than just the things that you want to accomplish. You also have to take care of yourself.
Right.
And that's really important. And I had to learn that I'm not invincible. I thought that if I ignored every single signal my body was sending me and just pushed as hard as I could, everything would be fine. But you actually do need to eat, and you actually do need to sleep, and you need a lot of other things as well.
What does balance mean to me? So, I am a heavy writer. I write down everything, and I always write down what is balance for me, and I always have 5 areas, because I feel like there's always one area in your life where you're depleted and it contributes to your unhappiness. Mm-hmm. And so for me, and I hate to bring in other areas of life, but this is what wellness means to me, and it contributes over to my health. So I always start with work. What is work? Work is so big for me because, a lot of people are in jobs they don't like, and I've done jobs that I don't like. So that's really.
A lot of people are doing a lot of things they don't like. And
that's
just,
true. And they just settle.
do it. Yeah.
Yeah, and that I'm very nope. So work is very is serious for me to just do my own thing and be happy in that. So then of course that triggers into finances. And so you have your job, your work. I don't ever want to say job, but you have your work, you have your finances, and then for me, movement is so important. But movement for me, I like to do more than just exercise. I like to actually be active. So it's a balance between the both. And then it goes into my personality. I'm very artful, I'm very creative, so that affects my energy, that affects my wellness. And then I love novelty, I love exploring things. I am a junkie for adrenaline rushes, so I love to do crazy stuff like skydiving and all that. So that's part of my wellness. So if I have these and I incorporate all of these into my life, that will make sure that my body stays intact.
I think that you just have to be able to identify, like, when do you really need to push super hard and when do you need to relax, and you can't be pushing super hard all the time or else you'll crash.
A balance.
Yes, yeah.
I love self-care. You always have to make sure that your mind is clear. So you have to take that time to yourself, whether that is walks in nature, it's yoga, massages, anything of that nature. You have to prioritize it because you do. You have to kind of be selfish in that sense because you can't be your best version, especially physically, if you give to everybody else. And I've learned that the hard way. And so at first I would feel guilty for it, but then I see how it affected me physically, and I didn't like that.
As I had to deal with more things in my life, I started to realize that there is some value in being organized and clean. It just reduces a lot of stress from your life.